Cause it's in the morning when I want to touch you. It's in the morning when I want to love you, sex you. Huh. Either way, that was a song by Robin Thicke and Snoop called "It's in the Morning." Dope song. If you ain't heard it, check it out. But anyway, it's not what we're talking about. So once again, we want to talk about addiction, but this time, as far as sex is concerned. So, but I gotta keep this one a little light just in case my mom, my sisters or somebody, listen to this. So, yeah, I mean, we'll get deeper down, some months from now. But so back in around 2000, and I think from 2001 to 2005, Eric Benet, great singer, ladies love him, was married to Holly Berry. All right. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is probably one of the more famous or celebrity driven cases that deal with this as far as sex addiction is concerned. So, you think to yourself, yo, you got Halle Berry, especially back then, right? Still beautiful though. So what happens is, I'm not sure exactly what happened. He got caught cheating or whatever. And so he immediately, I think maybe 2002, he goes into a 35-day sex rehab clinic, right? So, of course, all of the dudes, are thinking to themselves like, first of all, dog, you cheated on Halle Berry. Now, of course, we were way younger back then, but like, dang, dog, you cheated on Halle Berry? How could you cheat on Halle Berry, man? You crazy, such and such and such and such. And then we were like, that boy, he don't have no sex addiction. He just trying to get him some more, right? Something else. And so anyway, she winds up leaving him. So people had an argument, an article that she did last year. And so in the article, she was talking and everything, and she didn't bring him up by name, but she basically was like, that was cap. That was BS. You know what I'm saying? One of my exes said that he had some kind of sex addiction. That was all BS. I don't believe none of it. Right. So even she was thinking along the same lines, like, dog, come on. You just wanted something else. You just wanted something more. But sex, we all have it. We all do it or have done it. And, for the most part, we all like it. Sometimes, most of the time, and sometimes not. I had a friend before tell me, she was like, yeah, sex is like ice cream. I was like, what do you mean by that? She was like, well, even if it's bad, for the most part, she'll be good, right? Because, it could be worse. But hey, listen, that was her take on it. With sex, because here's my question. Is it too big of a thing? Is it too important of a thing? Because it would make somebody think that somebody's addicted to it. Because even when, a guy meets a girl, right? So a guy, and I'm sure ladies, you already know this and understand this, but, a guy meets a girl, gets your number, does all this, wants to talk, talk to you, take you out. In some instances, a guy will look and say, hey, look, you know what? That might be my wife one day. Or you know what? I really, really want to be with her, right? But a huge tie into that is that because he wants to have sex with you. But I'm not telling you anything you don't know, because for the most part, this is a mature audience. So we know and we get it. So there's a lot of things that go into that. Some guys are willing to say, hey, look, here go the money up front, like for strip clubs, or even not in strip clubs, even just out here in the world. Look, I'm going to pay how I weigh. This is what it is. This is what I want, whatever. So now, does that make them addicted to sex, or does it just make them guys that just really like sex and are willing to do whatever they can do to get more sex? Right? So it's kind of not like how we talked about yesterday with drugs, but is it like what is it? What do you think? And I know, there's a lot of women out there too who may have or do have a high sex drive, but the thing is that, of course, because women are the ones that are being pursued, they typically may not have the same ways of going about it, or because just think about it, even with legalized prostitution, as far as for men picking up women, it's been going on since the beginning of time. What they say is the oldest profession, right? So there obviously is something to men having this huge sex drive, this wanting this to always come, for lack of better words, right? But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, let me give you a story. So first off, and I'm not going to say the guy's name because we protect an anonymity around here. Because guess what? They didn't tell me to tell a story, but since nobody will ever know, I'll tell the story. So, growing up in the neighborhood, once again, not a lot of uh, great male figures around. So one of the homies, probably about 3, 4 years older than me, and it was about six of us. We were out there playing football. So he says to me, he was like, not just to me, he was like, man, y'all young boys, man, y'all running around here doing all this. Y'all need to go try to find yourself some girls. Y'all playing around, man. Y'all ain't, you know what I'm saying? Y'all not holding the hood up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, we like 12, 11, 10, like, and on top of that, there's no girls around here for real, for real. But anyway, so he's saying all this and all that. But because most men, we get testosterone driven. So, we still trying to, be cool and everything like that. But, he was a few years older than us. He might not have been the coolest old head around the way, but he was still one nonetheless. So he comes to us, he says, and we all he like, man, y'all ain't never got none before. And once again, because this is a family friendly show, we're not going to use those types of words. But he says, yeah, you know what I mean? Y'all ain't got such and such before. So then he goes around to each one of us, right? So he's like, no, we ain't never got none. So he goes to the one that says, yeah, man, let me tell you something. Ask him, what does it look like? Where's it at? So one of the homies pointed to like right below his belly button, right? He's like, man, it ain't there, man, such and such. He was like, you young boy, talking to me. He was like, how do it feel? Is it hot, cold, or is it warm? Which one is it? So I said, oh, it's hot. And he was like, man, young boy, you don't know what you're talking about. Young boy, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. All y'all nuts, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to go find some girls, right? So I tell that story because growing up in certain neighborhoods, that's where the focus becomes at. When we talk about men being womenizers or, guys just being out there like that. And once again, I focus primarily on my community because that's the community I grew up in, right? So growing up like that, a lot of times, and a lot of other black guys will tell you this, is what happens is that you are heavily influenced by the guys that are getting the girls. You're influenced by the older guys telling you the most important thing is sex. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take my young boys. We're gonna go to the strip club, even if you're underage and all that stuff. Or yeah, I got some girls coming around to see if they got little sisters and everything like that. So there's not this promotion on, no, young boy, you going to school. No, young boy, I need you. Yo, we all going to church. We all going to the mosque. We all going wherever. The promotion for most guys, and when I usually talk in the majority of what I'm saying. So I know there are some people that do great things, right? But you got a lot of guys who don't, they only promote showing these young kids, these young inner city kids, the things in life that are enjoyable, not the journey to get to the enjoyment. So you're constantly bombarded with, yo, young boy, shorty got a fatty. You know what I'm saying? You need to go holler at her. Man, you ain't gonna go holler at her, man. You a beat, dog. You ain't gonna holler at her. And even me, growing up, it made me do the same thing to younger dudes. Like, yo, dog, you ain't gonna holler at her. Like, or later on, we'd be like, what's up, a boy? He don't never, he don't talk to people. He don't such and such. Because even with all of that, I remember until I was probably 13 or 14, I was shy with it. You know what I mean? Or not as outgoing as far as, saying, hey, look, such and such and such. Now, when I hit a stride, then I was like, all right, well, cool, we there. But in the community I'm from, there is not a lot of promotion of doing things outside of that. So at the top of the hierarchy, right near money, are women, which is sex. Is sex. So what happens is that, you get a whole community of guys that, feel like sex is the thing to do. And I'm gonna tell you what happens is that it continues to go for years and years and years. So from your teens to your late teens to your 20s to your late 20s to your 30s to your 40s. I'm 50, so I don't know where to ever stop at. But it's almost like, just look at it like this: sexual basic training. Look at it like that, except on the negative side of it. Because what it does is that, and we all know this, especially as guys, the more you focus on women and sex, the less you have time to focus on going to school, getting a job, getting stuff done, doing this, doing that. And it's all typically taught by the older guys in the community, depending on what community you're in, right? Because, of course, we know in a lot of times in African American or Black communities, if you want to look at it, 80% of the women are the ones raising the kids, right? Or as far as primarily raising the kids, right? Even me, unfortunately, I fall into that thing now too, right? Where I'm in the 20% that of men that would do it, but I don't regularly have my kids every day, right? So kudos to all the moms out there. But what I'm saying is that you have a bunch of guys that are telling other guys, "Hey, listen, man, you know, you need to go holler at Shorty. Yo, matter of fact, let me grab your pen. You need to holler at Shorty. You need to tell her, look, this is what you tell her. You know what I'm saying? You tell her, come over for the night, such and such and such and such, all this and all that, right?" And so then we start to wonder, because I know everybody could say, well, we got protection, we got so many forms of birth control, things like that. But when you start to have sex and then more sex and then more sex, what starts to happen with that? You start to get babies, abortions, babies, diseases. You start to get a whole bunch of stuff, right? And then what happens is that you pass it on, because I'm really primarily talking from a male standpoint, not even from the ladies. But you start to pass on a lot of things that can be detrimental to a community, right? And like I said, I'm not preaching, I'm just talking, because we've all been through it. We've all been there. But in talking, and in more people talking, hopefully it gives some other people just a thought to say, hey, look, women are great. Having sex is great. Doing all of that stuff is great. But let me tell you what the ranking order should be. Depending on how you are, it should be religion, family, education, then everything else under that. Religion, family, education, everything else under that. Right? Now we know, and I get it, nobody's perfect. It's not a perfect world, right? A lot of us say, religion. I need to do better with religion, right? But a lot of us, don't go in that order. But the one thing we don't have to do is that we don't have to make our kids, especially our young boys, these guys that, what I'm saying, they just always are trying to find women and not focus on the other things first. That's all. So I'm wondering, do you think that that's an addiction? Do you think that it's an addiction, or do you think it's like a training that people have gone through to kind of make a lot of Black men like this, right? Because, hey, look, I'm no different. Like I said, I'm no different. I love women, right? And I look at them, and the same thing. And sometimes even you'll meet a woman. Check this out, ladies. This is why we love y'all. Sometimes you'll actually meet a woman that starts making you feel like a little kid again. You ever see guys walking around, guys do some of the stupidest stuff, even when we're just sitting chilling. Might have some girls come over, guys are there, guy want to talk about, yeah, because, my rollie in the shop right now, you know what I'm saying? Or, my car, such and such, or, last month we made, 10,000, we made 15, just whatever kind of situation. And, a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about, especially around your homies. But hey, we all got to make sure that we try to have a little more control over having some discipline, because we see a lot of, and I bring that up also too, because we have a lot of celebrities getting in trouble because they lack discipline. All right. And what it does is that it doesn't necessarily look that great, and it's not a good look. Well, for them, it's probably a good look because they're having the time of their lives. But a lot of times, and we've seen some of our largest stars go down because of some type of alleged problems we're having discipline. But hey, tell me what you think in the comments. And oh, by the way, like if you got a friend or something like that wants to subscribe or something, because it's free. You know what I mean? You could do it. Because I've done it with a bunch of channels. So if you got a chance, I want you to do it. But until then, live life. Don't let life live you.